Hello guys, and welcome to another PvP guide on the channel. Before starting the video, I would encourage all the new viewers to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more Red Dead Online content. So I've always been playing Red Dead Online in free aim or using the defensive playstyle on the channel. But I've noticed that not everyone are into free aiming, and most of the Red Dead community seem to prefer to play in offensive mode and using the auto aim and aim assist. This made me believe that I'm not paying enough love and attention to viewers with a different playing style. So I decided to invest some time into finding the best ability card builds and loadouts that are going to be very common in free roam PvP during the upcoming year. The first build that I'm very excited to show you guys is the new revoked Slippery Bastard card. I used to use this card back in the beta days, since it was the only way for me to play fully in free aim in auto aim lobbies. Over the past 6 months, this card has been changed a number of times and now it is in a very strong place. This card can now counter the deadeye card, painted black, and it is going to really piss your enemies off. Once you have this card active, your character is going to have a bullet bending effect on it, and enemies are going to have a nightmare while trying to shoot you. You could also manipulate your enemy's aim by switching it on and off during the fight. The ability card setup for this build is Slippery Bastard, Unblinking Eye, Sharpshooter, and Landon's Patience. First, when I started experimenting with this build, I used the card Fool Me Once instead. But I realized that when using this deadeye card, you're barely going to get hit at all, even when playing against painted black users. So I eventually swapped it to Landon's Patience in order to maximize the damage output on my rifle instead. So let's talk about the weapons loadout that I recommend with this build. You can be very flexible and choose whatever sidearms as you wish, but I suggest you to keep at least one sawn-off shotgun with incendiary box shots loaded in it at all times, so you could easily knock down your enemies in close range when you need to. So your first long arm is going to be what you mostly rely on while using this build. I would suggest you to choose between a scoped Lancaster repeater, a rolling block, or a Carcano rifle. If you're not sure which one to choose, then I would recommend the Carcano rifle personally, since with the ability cards I've mentioned earlier, you're not going to need more than 1 or 2 shots to send your enemies under the ground. And at the same time, you can afford to spam fire it due to its high rate of fire and its 6-round clip. You would definitely want to use the short scope on your rifles, since with this build you're going to fight in medium or short range mostly. For your second long arm, I would suggest you to go with a shotgun or bow and arrows. Bow and arrows have no bloom and are still 100% accurate when using the Slippery Bastard card. So all you have to do is to lock onto your enemies when you're in deadeye and aim for their heads to get a cheeky headshot. And at last, the Bolas. You are going to have such a fun time using this piece of equipment, since you can still lock onto your enemies when you are in Slippery Bastard. I'm going to let you enjoy some of these clips where I use the Bolas to trap my enemies and spray them when they're on the ground.
Hi. They're gonna change tactics.
I just done it again.
Good one, the
oh my god. I just done it again. Fucking done it again to the same Bolas trick again. He's gonna be hating me, bro. Watch.
There he comes. There he comes.
What are you doing?
Serious.
Yes. Fucking hell, yes. It works every time.
Keep in mind that this build is going to burn a lot of deadeye tonics. In order to reduce the cost while using this build, I would suggest you to stack up on chewing tobaccos. With only $6, you can get 4 chewing tobaccos from your catalog or any general store on the map. Each chewing tobacco is going to give you about 27 seconds of Slippery Bastard if you have the unblinking eye as well. Also note that you cannot refill your deadeye without coming out of it first. So try to get away from lock on distance or use covers in order to refill your deadeye meter. The counters to this build that you have to be worrying about are the sniper rifles or any scoped gun for that matter, since when looking down your scope, your gun is not going to care about the Slippery Bastard. If you get too close to people, they can eventually hit you with a shotgun. Other things you have to be worrying about are the bow and arrow, bolas and tomahawks, since they are not bullets and they will still hit you when you're in Slippery Bastard. Build number 2 is going to be an aggressive tank build, if you could call it that. Slow and Steady is still a very great card, and it is going to come in very handy in order to eliminate your enemies without getting killed so often. While this deadeye is active, you take a lot less damage and cannot be killed by a headshot outright. The cards I suggest you to use on this build are going to be Slow and Steady, Unblinking Eye, Gunslinger's Choice, and finally Strange Medicine. I also initially tried this build with Fool Me Once, but I found that Strange Medicine is much more effective. So now let's look at the loadout that I've been experimenting with while using this build. For your sidearms, I heavily suggest you to use the new navy revolvers. These revolvers are an absolute hand cannons and do a lot of damage to your enemies with express rounds. Because of the card Gunslinger's Choice, your revolver work is going to be even more lethal and accurate. These guns look awesome and they're going to be your main instrument while using this build. For your long arms, I would suggest you to pick a Lancaster repeater for medium range encounters, and depending on your playstyle, you choose a shotgun or a sniper rifle as your secondary long arm. Use minty big game and health cures in order to make your enemies rage while using this build.
Oh, I just sniped both of them. Oh, snipe? You get sniped? So you have to respawn once or something?
So in our final build, we're going to use the cards Painted Black, Never Without One, Strange Medicine, and Eye for an Eye. This setup has been a pretty standard build for a lot of Showdown players for a long time, and I believe that it will continue to somewhat stay like that. It is also the most economical option for people who would like to grind Showdowns, since this build doesn't require much tonic usage, and it will also save you ammunition due to the quick and accurate headshot potential. The only problem is this card is at the moment very weak against Slippery Bastard and Slow and Steady players. You're not able to headshot Slow and Steady players, and you almost can't reliably paint Slippery Bastard players with bullets. That is why that I'm not a big fan of this build in free roam, where the playstyles are much more diverse. The only time that I personally use this card is when I'm using the dynamite arrows. This is a very stupid feature in the game that allows you to turn your bow and arrow into a homing bazooka. I don't even know why is this combination in the game, but we're going to have to deal with it and use it. The loadout for this build is starting with 2 pistols. I prefer to use the Mausers, but the semi-automatic pistols also do a similar job. If you don't own any of these pistols, I would suggest you to go to story mode first and try to dual wield each of them and see which one feels the best for you. A pair of these pistols with all the upgrades is going to cost you more than $1,000, so it's better to be sure before buying them. They shoot extremely fast, and with Painted Black you can turn them into laser beams and get headshots easily. For your long arms, a Lancaster repeater loaded with express or high velocity rounds is going to be very lethal. I'm not a very experienced player in auto aim PvP, but I managed to learn the so-called quick head paints in about 1 hour of practice. So that means that everyone else can also get a hang of it quickly. I'm going to show every step very slowly first, and perhaps you could practice with your friends in a friendly posse infighting. All you need to do is to aim, flick up, and activate deadeye for a quick headshot paint. For your other long arm, I would suggest a bow and arrow. This is going to be very effective against Slippery Bastard players, since it's a lot easier to paint and actually hit them with an arrow. Remember that you could also paint them with a tomahawk for an easy kill. The bow is also quite deadly against slow and steady players, if you manage to stay away from the lock-on distance. If someone is using an extreme slow and steady tank build against you, don't be afraid to use your bazooka or fire arrows. So this was quite a diverse guide, and I covered a lot of different playstyles on it. I hope that it is going to help you to choose the right ability cards and loadouts while playing offensive in free roam. If you think a different card or loadout would work better on these builds, please write them down below in the comments. I would be very interested to know. Thanks for watching, and I see you guys next time.